Corinne couldn't fall pregnant. She has severe endometriosis. I've got an average sperm count according to the test, so there's that issue too for the man. Enough, but obviously that was hindering between the two. Yeah, man, she couldn't fall pregnant, so we had to do
How did you
IVF.
feel having an average sperm count? Did you tell people? Like, I know you're really transparent about that now, but
Mm.
if I had I know that when you said that, I'm like, whoa, if I had an average sperm count, I'd feel like less of a man. Why don't we backtrack to the very start of how men got married in the first place? Did men actually go, hey, I'm actually going to marry you. You're the love of my life. I'm going to build a family with you. Or do most men get married because it's like, I've been in a relationship for 5 years with this girl. There's no one better out there. She's pressuring me. She needs to have kids. Her ticking times. She's a ticking. She's a ticking clock, and her clock's gonna run out. And hey, if we don't get married now, then never. And so I think by trying to figure out the destruction and the chaos and the divorce, well, let's figure out why people actually got married in the first place. I know that for me and Kerry, it was like, why did I marry Kerry? She put no pressure on me to marry her or propose. I just kind of knew, hey, I want to be with this girl. And that's it. Like, I'm all in. I made a decision. I think for most men, from my understanding, is that they don't make decisions. They kind of get wedged in. There's pressure. There's pressure from the wife's best friend, the girlfriend's best friend. Hey, you're going to marry her? You guys have been together. There's a pressure from the in-laws. Hey, you've been dating my daughter for 5 years. When are you guys going to get married? There's all this, when are you guys going to get married? When are you going to have kids? Shit, she's coming up to 30, right? That's like the age. It's like when your girlfriend approaches 30, that's kind of it. Would you agree with that? Like, in order for us to figure out why there's so many divorces, we've got to figure out what was the commitment in the first place, and the lack of commitment is kind of what I see.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great insight, man, and a valid point. I definitely agree. I look back and even reflecting on my own life, I've been with Corinne since I was 17. She was 15, so very young, high school, and then pursued professional sport throughout my 20s, which came with a lot of ups and downs, very volatile career, injuries, operations, and whatnot. And the whole while, there was pressure to
Yeah.
take that next step, and I
Did
look
you
back
have
now,
that pressure with Corinne? Like, since you
yeah,
guys were dating since high school, she was your high school sweetheart. You dated for 10 years. How long did you date until you got married?
10 years, yeah,
10
yeah,
years.
11 years. So
Okay.
I was 27, turning 28,
Yeah.
and she was, yeah, 20, 25, turning 26, and we got married after 10 years, and that's crazy because I look back now, and there was a point though where I did want to do it, and that was that point, but then I was pressured for
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
at least 6 of those years. Like I
Yes.
get it when you're 20, in even in back in the early 2000s, there's not really that, hey, you should be married at 20. 100 years ago, 100%, you're already married with two kids. But when I was starting to get in my early 20s, 22, 23, 24, yeah, there was pressure, man. And I wasn't committed. And I look back now, Lynn, and I'm a strong man who was chasing
Yeah.
sport and had that willpower and mindset to want to perform. Yet in that area, I still didn't want
There's
to shoulder the
no.
responsibility of
There's no
stepping
fucking
up,
commitment, is there?
being married
There's
and
like,
making, because I wasn't making money, even though I was trying to pursue it with
yeah.
sport. And so I think there was fear because I wasn't ready for the responsibility of actually going, hey, I'm going to provide this fucking amazing life for you, because I couldn't even see it, let alone step up to do it.
It's so funny. We have so much clarity and direction in what we want for our own personal life. Like, I want this much money. I want to buy this car. I want to have this. I want to have this body. I want to get this strong in the gym. When it comes to the relationship, there's the, she'll be right, mate. She'll be, she'll be right. And you kind of just drift into it. And quite often we let the women kind of dictate. And for us men, the common theme is that we allow the woman to dictate what's happening in our marriage. I think that's that's a good and a bad thing. There's pros and cons to everything. Um, and so I think because of that pressure, people get married for the wrong reasons. And because people get married for the wrong reasons, they then, um, that's kind of where the first part happens, I think, right? The downfall, the lack of alignment, the lack of values. Like, Kerry and I got married for the wrong, she just said yes. I think she said yes because we'd bought a house together. And she was like, well, if I'm not going to marry this guy, I'm not going to date anybody else. And her parents were like, yeah, this guy's amazing. You should marry him. And she was like, yeah. But she didn't marry me. We didn't sit down and go, hey, like, do we want the same thing? Are we gonna, like, when you and I became business partners, we sat down and we said, okay, what's the vision? What's the goal? Do we want the same thing? What's your role? What's my role? Right? We were extremely clear. And then when we opened our company together, we literally had clear roles, clear visions, clear alignment, and that's how, like, shit's been amazing, right? Like, no arguments, no chaos, no cracks, no divorce, nothing like that. I think if there was one piece of advice I'd give back to myself, and it's weird because I don't even think I'd take it, but if there's one piece of advice, I don't think I would take this advice. I'd say, hey, get aligned on your values. Like, figure out, like, what do you want with this person for the rest of their life? How many kids do you want? What do you want to be doing with the kids? What do you want to build with this woman? Because for all of us, the person that holds us back the most is our wives. Like, she is the bigger. She can either help us grow or she can actually hold you back. And for a lot of men that I see in high performance father, their wives might hold them back, but they have a bigger story that their wives hold them back. And so it's a true thing. Both you and I have experienced that. I've experienced this so much where in business, I've constantly felt, oh my gosh, Kerry's holding me back. Kerry's holding me back. Kerry's holding me when we were together without kids, because all she wanted to do was travel. And I'm like, woman, why do you want to travel for? I want to set us up. I want to get rich. She's like, nah, I don't want to get rich. Screw your mastermind. I don't want to take me to the Amazon. And I hated it, dude. Because I honestly felt, man, I love this woman so much, but there's something wrong, because whenever I spend time with her doing what she wants, I feel empty as fuck. And when she does what I want, she feels empty as fuck. And that's the craziest thing.
It's tough too, isn't it, man? Because what you're talking about, even in giving yourself advice that you probably wouldn't take,
Yeah.
it brings me to the point of what I wrote here was existing version. It's fucking hard because how would these men know to have the conversation with their fiancés, so to speak, or their to-be wife, when they're planning their values, their goals, their dreams, everything? All of that still, even the picture they paint, could change. And this is the risk of life. Life's the risk, right? All that could change because everything they're planning is coming from that existing version. So let's say that I gave myself the same advice that you're talking about, and I go back to 21-year-old Al. I've been with Karim for 4 years. I wouldn't take the advice either, because that's 21-year-old version. I go, no, I'm playing fucking first grade rugby league, man. Yeah. She'll be right. And that's the hard part, actually creating wisdom in these younger men today to go, no, you need to plan and look ahead at the big picture.
You make a really great point. You can't, as much planning as you want, you can't plan ahead, because with every year you become a different person. With every different version of you have different goals. You pivot, you learn new things. So I think the answer then, and that's a really good lesson, the answer is actually being able to deal with the cards you're dealt at every given time that you're dealt those cards. Like every year you're dealt a new set of cards. Like this year I've been dealt Atlas. It's been amazing, but I haven't had a lot of sleep, right? The second one's killed me in terms of compared to Ocean. But you deal with the cards that you're dealt. And so it's actually being able to have a set of principles. You go, okay, these are my cards. How do I get out? Like it's weird. It's like my hands are tied this way in a new way. There's a new combination code. All right, figure it out on how to get out of this particular situation to get to what you want. So you were kind of with Corinne, and you kind of fell into marriage. When did you have Stella? Did you plan for Stella? Was she unplanned?
Yes. So we struggled. That was another frustrating thing too, I guess, because when we got married, the next natural step was children. Everyone's different, but for us, we'd already spent time together, so it's not like, okay, we're married, let's live together for 5 years. We'd already been together for 10, and Corinne couldn't fall pregnant. She has severe endometriosis. I've got an average sperm count according to the test, so there's that issue too for the man. Enough, but obviously that was hindering between the two. Yeah, man, she couldn't fall pregnant, so we had to do IVF.
How did you feel having an average sperm count? Did you tell people? Like, I know you're really transparent about that now, but you know, if I had I know that when you said that, I'm like, whoa, if I had an average sperm count, I'd feel like less of a man.
Manhood. Shit. Yeah,
it's manhood. It's the only thing that men have, right? To like reproduce.
Yeah, and it's tough because like my uncle couldn't have children, and he had a diminished sperm count. And I remember hearing his story because being on the Italian side, very proud, people. It was and we all have a level of pride, but for him it was really fucking tough to swallow. So for me, even just having an average, it hurt, man. And that coupled with when we did IVF, when I went to the sperm clinic and did all that stuff,
Mhm.
I actually saw my friend at the same time,
Did
and we
you?
didn't even know that each other had issues. And I messaged him in the car, and I was like, "Hey," like I saw him as he passed, and I was like that. Whoa! And I messaged him, and I said, "Hey, man, not to sound intrusive, but like, were you just at this one Fennel Street in Parramatta going and getting your sperm number?" He's like, "Yeah, I was, and I thought that was you." And I was so embarrassed as well, man.
Yeah.
So because I was a very proud man at that stage, I was I'd played rugby league and doing CrossFit. Obviously all the persona of being a high
Big, strong,
testosterone type
tough.
male. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. The big alpha, the
The,
192 centimeter center forward
yeah. Yeah,
coming
the
in.
swimmers don't swim. So no, it was, man. But now, that did pass reasonably quickly. But looking back, yeah, it was something I never told anyone about. And even the whole IVF thing, like I was injecting these hormone things into Corinne to help her, and we kept failing. And as a man, there was nothing we could do. Like we
Yeah,
can't change it, and it was tough. But we ended up having Stella. We were successful. Stella and Lillian were both IVF, and I was 30, just about to turn 31.
yeah. What were you
Um,
doing when you had Stella? Like, what was your like financial life, personal life like? The reasons
it
why I asked
was,
about finance is because I gave a piece of advice. Abs was asking me, hey, like, what one piece of advice would you give me? Like, it's his birthday today. And he's like, what one piece of advice would I give to you before you get married? And I said, bro, like, figure out your money. I said, bro,
mm,
you have to figure out your money because generally, like, we I've noticed that for myself and a lot of people, 99.8% of the arguments have money as a root cause of why the argument started in the first place. And the excuse for those arguments are shadowed in bullshit. Like, oh, I'm just going to call it
100%.
out. Yeah.
No, 100%, man.
Like,
It's like that. Yeah. Yeah. That's a great
like
birthday present for Abs.
yeah, and I
That
said, bro,
advice.
you got to get your money sorted out. Like, you just have to be like, whatever that number, feel like money isn't a constraint for you. Feel like you're not strained. Feel like you're not scarce in money. Feel like you know how to make money. You have the power to make money. Because I think that's a very, very important skill in order to provide for your family. I've noticed, like, when I used to grow up and when I used to start, when I dated Carrie and I didn't have a lot of money and she wanted to go out to the organic store to buy organic chicken, I'm like, yo, go to Woolies and like buy shit on special, and so we would have these. It was such a weird conundrum now to think back at it. She would want to go out to the
Mm.
organic store 10 years ago. I'm like, yo, like, buy shit on special. Why do you have to be such a high maintenance girl? Why do you? And she's just like, well, I just want the best. and
Yeah.
and isn't that crazy? Because I'm looking
It,
for like special and deals and Woolies, and I'm going, hey, you should buy like $10 chicken, buy $3 mints. What's wrong? What's worse than $3 mints, bro? Now that we know, what could be worse than $3 fucking mints? But back then I didn't, and back then, and what's the root cause? It was money. Like, she'd come
100%.
over, she'd leave the heater on in the other room. I'd get pissed at her. I'd be like, hey, honey, why'd you leave the heater on? Turn off the heater. Don't you know? But, and then I'm making up bullshit excuses like, oh, it's just inconsiderate, or, oh, it's just a waste of energy. Have you heard that before? It's a waste of energy to leave
Mm.
the heater on. But really, what was happening, I was a non-producing tight ass that then allowed my relationship, the most important thing, my wife, my relationship with Kerry, the mother of my kids, um, you know, telling her, labeling her, abusing her, creating stories about her because the root cause of money.